welcome to episode 7 of the Kojo podcast by Kojo Times. I hope everybody had a good or a recovering Monday. I know that can be a little tough after the Super Bowl. And with the Super Bowl, it's more than just the peak of the NFL season. Early estimates put 66% of American households tuning in on Sunday. It's undeniably one of the most communal times for America, not to mention the communal hate of Jackson Mahomes it brings with it, which is a unifying thing in itself. The Super Bowl is also the pinnacle of performances, right? It's the greatest gig a musician in America can have, given half of them lip-sing it. Beyonce did not, but a lot of them choose to. Between drives, we see the pinnacle of the advertising world. It's a little preview for what we're going to begrudgingly watch between programs for the next year. Even if you block out the TV, you still have the Super Bowl parties, which in themselves, the dips, the food, the drink, and those friends that you only get to see for like half a year because they're so fucking whipped by their girlfriend/spouse, just that alone is its own festivity. But somewhere between all this damn pageantry, supposedly there is, and this year there certainly was, the two best teams in American football facing off. Here's some more stats about the Super Bowl. Right, the cost of the game is between $4,000 and $60,000 for a ticket. Cool. Here's another one. The bands and the artists are unpaid for the halftime show, which I certainly thought that was interesting. There's this, an estimated 1.45 billion chicken wings are eaten on Super Bowl Sunday, and that's billion with a B. It's actually the second biggest day of eating for Americans behind Thanksgiving. Oh, and here's one more stat that I thought was pretty neat. This year, the NFL fucked me. Here's the scene. The Chiefs recovering from a 10-point deficit going into the half, tied up the game at 35-35. Now, there's 5:15 on the clock. They have the ball on their own 25. It was a great game plan and big-time execution that brought the Chiefs back into this. Now it's prime Patty Mahomes time. This was the Eagles' worst situation, playing from behind. They need a stop here, or at least a kick is imperative. So this drive goes on. The Chiefs drive down the field. It's looking like they'll score. Time is burning down. Then the Eagles have them on 3rd and 8, a foot off the 15. 1:54 on the clock and one timeout left. The game's on the line. My pocket's on the line. I put my book on the Eagles. Everyone's on the edge of their seats. A stop here, a timeout, and the Eagles are back in it. Even if they get a kick, the Eagles have a chance, right? That's what everybody wants to see. Play starts, snaps a little low to Patrick Mahomes. The edge rushers come wide and crash in. Patty's under pressure. He throws it up. Back corner, out of reach of his receiver, uncatchable. Holy shit, there's a chance. I'm going wild. But whammo, full stop. A flag finds its way onto the field, and the call is defensive holding. This carries a 5-yard penalty and an automatic first down. Greg Olson, the announcer, felt robbed. I can't believe it. Chiefs fans don't really give a shit, but they'll take it. The video plays on slow replay, fueling nightmares for me and those Philly cheesesteaks up north. The Chiefs knee the ball out, kick a field goal. Barring a ridiculous Hail Mary that didn't happen, or some other event, the game is over, and one-legged Pirate Pat wins his second Super Bowl. And look, I'm not here to analyze the sports right now. There's plenty of talking heads already doing that. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. It's well covered. It was a great game. They were both great teams. Flat out, the Chiefs came back in the second, had a better game plan. I'm not going to say the Chiefs didn't deserve to win that game. They did. But let them win it. The Super Bowl should be won or lost by the players who fought to get there, not by a referee. That penalty flat out killed the game. We all wanted to see Jalen with the ball in his hands and either the Eagles' offense or the Chiefs' defense walk off the field or bring it to overtime. The final Chiefs drive, up to the final Chiefs drive of Super Bowl 57, the Heinz Ketchup Bowl, was a classic. But in football, games are only as good as its ending. So here's my problem. My problem is the ball was uncatchable. Mahomes threw the ball wide and out. Hold or no hold, the receiver wouldn't have been able to get it, i.e. the hold didn't affect the outcome of the play. Now, sure, that doesn't matter with the rules. The rule book doesn't define catchable, nor does it really apply here. It's not a PI call. According to the rules, it was a good call. But also, according to the rules, there's holding on every play, and that's just a fact. That's football. The line, the defensive backs are all taught to hold. And I'm not going to be here arguing it wasn't a hold. His hand was on the jersey. The player himself said it was a hold. I am sure he grabbed it. Carl Chafers, the head ref, says there was no doubt in their heads at that moment it was a hold. And I don't doubt it was a hold, Carl. I can't press this enough. I don't doubt it was a hold. But again, there's holding on every play. So the question isn't whether it was or was not a hold. It was if it was egregious enough, right? And if it affected the play enough to warrant a flag. To a degree, you could say yes. To a degree, you could say no. But in that moment, I say you swallow the whistle. If you've gone the whole game without calling holds on every play, sure as hell swallow the whistle. Let the boys fight it out. Let the boys play. This is the pinnacle of the NFL season. This was by no means the first contested call in NFL history. Is what we define the purpose of a ref as that I think becomes important here. Here's what I would say, right? Reffing should not obscure the game. Should enable the play and not define it. I think reasons to throw a flag, or if a player's safety is at risk, an infraction results in a significant change or alteration to the outcome, or there's agreed upon violation of the basic fundamentals of the game. Beyond that, it's just a diva imposing their will on athletes, professional athletes. This is not a hot take. Refs are universally despised. If they make a call, it benefits one team, and that team assumes the call should have been made. On the other hand, the accused team is then upset. There's no winning for a ref. It's undoubtedly one of the worst jobs in America, and maybe even worse than being a cop in 2020 or even a dentist. I don't think refs are all bad either. Same as there needs to be a reckoning with the officiating, there needs to be a reckoning with the fans. They need to take a long look at just blanket booing any call against their team. I remember one game at Bama, there was this blonde bitch just sitting behind me in the student section. She was just yapping her ear off, yelling and yelling and yelling nonsense the entire game. It's like a lot of people do. They equate noise with intelligence and passion with support. But then comes an egregious holding call during that Bama game on a Tide player. It was a very obvious call. Also a hold that prevented a sack. Where this blonde girl doesn't know what the fuck's going on. She just loses her fucking mind. She just starts screaming shit, screaming at these refs. These are the very worst types of fan. As fans, we need to take more accountability to understand the game and respect the call when it's well-deserved. Obviously, you couldn't have a prison rule football game. We used to play, when I was growing up, we played smear the person with the ball. But we played that growing up, and nobody wants to pay to see that in a professional game. So clearly, to a degree, we do need the refs. On the other degree, right, we're not there to see the refs. Their impact on the game should be minimal. All this being said, the outcome of refs call, though varying, is systematically a bigger issue that starts at the top with the NFL. So first, I wanted to oppose the idea, right? This is going around, and I do say it myself. I think it's a funny idea, but that the NFL is rigged. This has been an idea for forever, and it's one that we as fans really like to hop on. It's fun to say there's a script, but seriously, you think there's going to be thousands of people who work their ass off to get to the NFL just to sit there and then accept a fucking script like they're Leonardo DiCaprio? No, I don't think so. You wind up with, we have like 2 supposed whistleblowers on the whole fucking thing? No. You're smoking crack if you believe that. Then even if we assume that it's Goodell and the refs that rig it, right? That's another thing. That all it takes is the refs and Goodell to rig a game. Well, why would Goodell be risking the league to rig a game? I think the risk there is just not worth the benefit. Do you know how much money is tied up in the NFL just for him to make some more money off Vegas? And then I also say, if the refs were rigging the game, they would have more money. If they're making this Vegas money, they should be retired during the week. Which brings us to another general issue. The refs in the NFL are not full-time. So let me read the Super Bowl refs by their day jobs. The leading ref in the Super Bowl is a sales manager. The umpire is an IT engineer. The down judge is an elementary school teacher. Line judge, president, and CEO of a medical sales company. Field judge is a sales executive. Side judge, a federal agent. I mean, that just kind of fucking lines up. Back judge, an educator. The highest paid NFL ref makes around $200,000 a year. This is good. I mean, that's a good amount of money. I would certainly take that amount of money. But as far as NFL salaries go, I'm sure it could be higher. But the refs not being full-time means they aren't accountable on the weekdays, right? They're only accountable on the weekends. And they're also classified as contract employees. All this means they can fuck up. And they do fuck up, but it's also worth noting they have experience and they know what they're doing. It takes at least 10 years of officiating before being considered to be an NFL ref. However, this is only a part-time contract employment on the weekends. They don't have camps, and they don't have clear training on the weekdays. So with the employment, with the contracts, also, most refs are not terminated during the season. If they're terminated, if at all, which is rare, it's after the season. If they make an egregious call, the consequence for that call, if they mess up an entire game, mind you, the millions of dollars tied up in this game, all the players, all the fans, everybody there to see it, all that can be ruined by an egregious call. If they make an egregious call, they're just written up. They're not suspended. There's little repercussion that they face in consequence for making a shitty call in the game. In my mind, right, this leads to refs should be full-time. Everyone else in the NFL is. And it's not fair to them, the other people in the NFL, the employees of the NFL, the players, the workers. It's not fair to them or the fans for refs not to be salaried and accountable employees. If all that ever happened to me in consequence of anything was that I got written up, hell, I'd be breaking the fucking rules all the time. I'm not just breaking the rules, I just wouldn't give a shit to follow them. So then, this goes to the fucked up grading of NFL reffing too. For instance, Carl Cheffers, who is the most penalty-prone ref in the NFL. How does he get to call the Super Bowl, even with the NFL recently admitting that excessive or hair-trigger penalties are an issue this season? He gets there by a convoluted system that both values whether a call should or should not have been made, and one that grades the positioning of the ref and their attention to the play. As a fan, I resent penalty-prone refs, as most fans do. And as most fans, we don't want to see penalty-prone refs further enabled into the postseason. Of course, if you're grading them, that's an impossible metric to take into account. How well they step back and let the game happen. You can't grade a ref on that metric. But I do contend there is a clear directive from the NFL on what refs should call and what they should not call. I do think that refs have a clear direction on how involved in the game they should be. So to what extent do they impact the game, I think is determined up top. So let's start with some statistics, right? In the 2017 NFL season, there were 3,525 beneficial penalties. In 2018 and 2019, that number stayed roughly the same at 3,569 and 3,572 beneficial penalties, respectively. 2020 was a significant difference. There were only 2,989. This number is very much due to holding penalties that year were down by 59%. Mind you, there were no fans in the stadium that year. So you would think it would be easier if they were just calling egregious calls. It would be easier for them to spot them and then call them. But likewise, scoring was up that year. To me, this is a smoking gun of the NFL. It's a smoking gun of their directive with the refs. And then the 2 seasons after this, right, 2021 and 2022, they were back in the 3,000s. The beneficiary penalties were. In 2021, there were 3,339. In 2022, there were 2,154. So if the NFL is giving directive on what to call or what not to call, I do think it's then fair to complain about excessive penalties in an NFL game. I think it's clear they don't call every one. I mean, that's evident. The refs will even say that. Everybody will say that. And I do think there's a degree of temperance on the ref side. So, and that's good, but I want better. I think it's fair to say we as fans want less flags. We want to see the game played on both sides of the ball. The directive should be, don't make a call unless you have to. With all this, right, in the end, I would never want to be a referee. There's no set number of penalties they have to learn, but the number of unique calls is somewhere between 800 and 100. And fuck learning all that shit, just to be hated by millions of people. When I think of an NFL ref, I think of Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy, those type. No, but they're probably nice people who just really, really like rules. My whole case here is just against the system. There's a broken system in the NFL that enables refs to make the calls that they make. Some people contend that system is never going to be fixed because they don't have to fix it, which is where I think it is on us as the fans to demand a more lax game. I got nothing against the refs. I guess at the end of the day I'll say that. I got nothing against the refs. It's a broken fucking system. But still with the refs, fuck them. But that's what I got today. Stay tuned. If you don't subscribe to our Instagram, it's at Kojo Times. Subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest content. We'll have another podcast out hopefully pretty soon. Hopefully we're getting a guest on this week. At least it's planned. I know it's been planned before in the past, but I think we should actually have it this time. Regardless, next Tuesday we'll have another episode out, so stay tuned. Thank you, everybody, and hope you have a great week. Bye.